Hi, how's it going? This is Amy and welcome to A-Star Reads. I am getting ready to start my very first TBR game. I am so excited. I love board games. I've always loved board games. I really like the BookTube TBR games, and so I kind of thought it would be fun to do my own. Really started watching Becca from Becca with Books do her Bookopoly. Her inspiration was her favorite childhood board game, and mine was the Game of Life. I loved the Game of Life. I would play it by myself sometimes because I was just curious to see what kind of life I could end up with. What were all the possibilities that I could have? And I guess that maybe attests to me being a planner. I don't know, but it was a lot of fun to play as a kid. So when I first started thinking this up and started kind of working out some of my rules and whatnot, I hadn't found anybody playing the Game of Life on BookTube. But since then, I have seen at least 2, maybe 3 people that are using the Game of Life, and I will link their channels down below because obviously I'm not the first one to do this. But they do have different rules than I do, and they are using a different board than I am. I'm using the vintage board, which is the board that I grew up with because I am vintage. And they're using the newer versions. So before I pick the 5 books that I will be reading this month, I'm gonna give you a tour of the board. There are books that I will have to read each month for buddy reads or readathon sort of things, and I would like to incorporate those into my TBR game, but you never know. So I would like to introduce you to the game of A Bookish Life. Basically my bookish life. I made some minor adjustments. I actually was going to put more stickers, like book stickers on here, but I had to order them online because I couldn't find any nearby. So I'm gonna put some more of those, but ultimately it's mostly done. I do want to paint some of the buildings more, like I painted this one green and this one red, just to give it a little more color, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. And I wanted to make sure I got this filmed so I had plenty of time to work out any kinks that I might have. I just wanted to give you an idea of what my board looked like, and then start going through it. Just at the beginning, when I first start playing, I have the option of either going to a career first or college. And the reason this is important is because if I start in college first, all the books up until this point must be young adult books. And at the stop sign, I'll tell you what happens at the stop signs in a minute, but that's just so you know, all of them will have to be young adult. And then if I start a career first, it's a shorter path, but these 4 options would have to be adult books. And if I end up starting career first, I have to add a book to my TBR. So the way that I determine whether or not I'm starting at college or career is that I have to roll between a 1 and a 5 to start in college and a 6 and 10 to start in career. And this initial roll doesn't actually indicate how many steps I'll be moving. It just indicates whether or not I'm starting at college or career. So, for example, in this case, I landed on a 1. I would start at college, so I'd put my little car right there. If instead I ended up on 8, I would start at career and I would add 1 book to my TBR. Every month I plan on doing 5 spins, and there are instances where I may have to add another spin. One of those instances where I might have to add another spin is that I'm going to say if I land on the same number, spinning this wheel, if I land on the same number 5 times, then at the 5th time that I land on that number, I have to add another book. And so I'm going to keep a tally through January through December of how many times I land on each number. So I'll keep a tally 1 through 10 of how many times I roll each number, and the moment I hit 5 times, say I roll on number 1 5 times. The moment I roll the 5th number 1, I will add another book to that month's TBR. So, you know, I'm sure this first month or maybe even the second month, I won't be rolling 5 of the same numbers, but ultimately it probably will add up in a couple of months. There might be a time when I have multiple books that I have to add to my TBR. That's kind of scary. Then there are definitely some prompts like this one where I have to plus 1 book. Plus 1, and I put a little sad face on it. There's not a ton of these. This is usually where it said taxes due that I made sure I added 1 book. So anytime on the board that it had taxes due, I was like, well, I better give myself a penalty. And then there is this one other instance where I have to pick a stock card and add books. And I picked out 1 through 4. And if I were to land on that, I would have to either add 1, 2, 3, or 4 books to my TBR. I did not go over that because that was just too frightening of a concept. I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. But if I were to land on this, and there's another one right here, I think there might be only 2 of these on the board. But if I were to land on one of those, I would have to randomly pick one of these and then add that number of books to my TBR. So that is a true punishment, if I may say so myself. Okay, so once I roll, and I'm actually rolling to move, there are two outcomes of these colors, and I will show you my little legend right here. So this side is genre, and this side is diversity rep. Say where I would end up on this spot and I had rolled a purple. I would have to pick a classic that is a book with a TV adaptation. And these books have to be on my TBR. And I do have a lot of books on my TBR, so it shouldn't be too difficult, and there will be times that I might need to get a little creative. If instead I were to land on this one with a diversity rep button, then I would use this side. So say I also landed on purple, it would be North America, not US, and it would be random word generator. So I need to randomly generate a word, and that word must be in the title. So a book that is by an author that is either Canadian or from Mexico, or maybe one of the Caribbean island countries, and then I would randomly generate a word, and that word has to be in the title. So it gets a little complicated, but of course I don't like to do things easy, so I mean, that's just kind of how I am. I have Indigenous author, disability rep, and that could be either an author who has a disability or a character in the story that has disability. And then I chose the continents, the main continents, South America rep, so it could be the settings in South America, written by a South American author, or it has characters that are South American. And then a person of color author, an Asian rep. This is including all countries that are considered within the Asian continent. North America, not US. So any place in the North American continent that is not in the US. Europe/Australia rep, so any country that's considered part of the European continent or the Australian continent. And then African rep, this is any country within the African continent. And then LGBTQIA, and then US person of color rep. And the reason I did this was because I wanted to make sure that I do get diversified choices within my book options each month. I don't want to just be reading books from the same types of authors. And then for my genres, I have middle grade, adult fantasy, adult fiction, adult horror, thriller, mystery, adult sci-fi, classics, nonfiction, romance, YA fantasy, and YA other, meaning like any other types of YA that are not fantasy. And some of these are kind of specific, so there might be times that I have to get a little creative, which I'm okay with because it's my TBR game, right? So that is basically how the spinner works. Now, some of the special spots on this board are stop signs. Stop signs are unique because they can get me stuck. When I hit a stop sign, I have to roll a 6 through 10 in order to be able to pass it. Say I'm here and I roll a 6 through 10 and I'm like, yes, I can pass this stop sign. I actually have to roll again before moving. So once I hit stop, I roll. If I roll over a 5, then I re-roll to move forward. If, however, I roll 1 through 5, I will use whatever genre it ends up on 1 through 5 to determine what that card is going to be. And there could be situations where I roll 1 through 5 for a stop sign over and over and over again. In which case, I will do career card, career card, career card, or book with love, romance, or prominent relationship over and over and over again, or a book I own over and over and over again. There are 3 stop signs. And then just to be clear, if I'm here and I roll a 9 and I end up stopping here because I can't go past this stop sign, even if I roll a higher number, this is considered a prompt for that stop. I do have to do at least one prompt at this stop sign. Then next roll, I can try and roll over it. Career cards are kind of strange. I have one here if I start on career, and I have one here at the end of college. When I land on one of those, I have to randomly choose one of these career cards. The book that I pick has to have some kind of influence by superstar. It doesn't necessarily have to be that there is a superstar in it or a travel agent in it. It just has to get a vibe or a theme from these cards. So say I land on career card and I pick travel agent. Most likely I would pick a book about travel. Or maybe I could pick a book set in a different country than I live in. You know, it could be interpreted however I want to interpret. Other unique squares are my choice. There's a lot of these. These were all paydays. So I thought, well, if I land on a payday, it ends up being my choice. It still has to be within the genre that I choose based off my spin, but it can be any book within that genre that I want to choose. Then I've got book card. These ones are interesting. This is my little book card bag, and these are my book card picks. These are all basically when other people pick books for me. So I would randomly choose one out of this bag and say I pick this one. It would be Magda pick. I have a friend named Magda who's a super bookish person, And she and I talk about books constantly, and she always has books she wants to recommend to me. And I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity for her to get her own pick. The caveat here is that whoever is picking for me has to pick based off the genre I spin. So say I land on this one and I pick Magda and it landed on classics. Magda's gonna have to find a book that's a classic that she wants to recommend to me. So I've got quite a few of these. I got Shell Pick because she is one of my other really close book friends. Then I've got BookTube friend picks, which are gonna be friends that I've met on BookTube, a dog pick. I do have a generic friend pick, which will be friends other than Shell and Magda. I've got a mom pick, because mom and I read a lot of books together. I do have family pick, which would be family other than my mom. And you pick is going to be based off what you as a viewer picks. I'm going to choose 3 options that you can pick from based on the genre I land on. And you'll get to decide in the comment section which one you think I should read for that month. So basically, book cards are when other people pick books for me. So blue squares are either a gift to me or a gift to you or a gift to somebody else. So blue squares, I either buy a thrifted book, buy a new release, or I could be doing a book giveaway. Here's one where I would donate books. And let's see, buy a new book. So a lot of these are gifts to me because I'm going to be trying not to buy that many books this next year. I'm going to try and let the library and books I already have be books that I try to choose. But then, you know, I need a little bit of a reward. So I've got some nice little blue spots that are either rewards for me or rewards for you. So I go all the way through my board and I get to the end. Once I get to the end, there are 2 options once I land on this square. And I do have to pick a prompt once I land on this square. So either if I roll 1 through 5, it's most anticipated books, or if I roll 6 through 10, it's the library recommends the book. Because if I roll 1 through 5, and I haven't changed the names of these, but I do want to do that eventually. It'll happen, it just hasn't happened yet. Then if I roll 1 through 5, then I go to Countryside Acres, and I get to buy myself 2 books. So that's super exciting, and that basically means I win big time. But if I choose 6 through 10, then I get to do a giveaway of 2 books to you. And I have to pick a library recommends book because I'm not getting any new books. I really don't have any preference. Of course I love getting new books, but I think it'd be a lot of fun to give away a couple of books. So in that case, I go to Millionaire Estates and you win. And once I get through the end, I just start over again and I keep going through it. So this is my board. I'm not going to go through each and every prompt because I tried to make them all different, or at least mostly different, so it would take forever to go through those. Let me know in the comment section down below if there was anything that I didn't cover or that you didn't think was very clear, and I can make it more clear, or at least attempt to. And of course, once I start playing, you'll get kind of the hang of this game and see exactly what I'm trying to do. All right, thank you, Tour Guide Amy. I hope you understood all those rules. It will become a lot more clear as I go through and as I start playing. So let's go with the first spin. All right, so it is pouring rain, so hopefully you can hear me through all the rain. But let's get started. Let's figure out first if we're going to college or starting a career. And remember, as I said, if I started a career, I have to add a spin. So I'm always going to be doing 5 spins unless for whatever reason I need to add a spin. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that I'm starting at college. All right, 2021, the game of a bookish life, TBR, here we go. I'm nervous. All right, we're going to college. It means 5 books, 5 books. I'm starting at college, and I will spin again to see how many spots I actually go. Oh, I need to do over. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A book card already, oh my gosh. This red color actually usually means adult horror, thriller, mystery, but I will attempt to do the book card as a young adult horror, thriller, mystery, depending on what it ends up being. It's the book card bag. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, let's see. And we're gonna go with this one. What is it? It's a cat pick. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's gonna be a fun one. I can't wait for Isaac to pick my horror, thriller, mystery, young adult book. 3 possible YA horror, thriller, mystery books are Campfire by Sean Sarles, Wilder Girls by Rory Power, or Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen McManus. Isaac's like, let me free, let me free. Which one do you want? Which one do you want? What was it? Two Can Keep a Secret, yes!
Is that the one you wanted?
I like it, yeah. I'm excited about that one because, oh, and you want love? He wants love. Was that your favorite? Was that your favorite? Yeah. Go get that one. Go get that one. Go that way. There's more. Look. Isaac, look. There you go. I wanted to jump on here really quickly and let you know, for transparency purposes, I didn't put those down in any particular order. I kind of shuffled them and then put them down without looking at them. So I was not trying to guide my cat to pick that book. It just so happened he did. All right, so for that book, I ended up with Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen McManus, which I'm really excited about because it was a possibility in my December TBR challenge game, and I didn't end up picking it. But I was kind of interested in it. It was a little intriguing. And this book is about this young girl who is going to this town to live with her grandmother. In this small town she's living in, her aunt has gone missing. In the past, some other girls have gone missing, and just recently, another girl has disappeared. And she's probably trying to find out what exactly is going on in this town, and maybe she'll become a victim. I don't know. But I'm really excited about checking this book out, and thank you, Isaac, for picking this one for me, because I think it'll be a quick and easy read and probably a lot of fun. All right, let's go to spin number 2. 2, okay. Oh no. Over 500 pages. All right, so we're starting out with a very busy month. Okay, so this normally means adult fantasy, but since this is all YA, it'll be a YA fantasy over 500 pages. All right, for spin number 2, I got a YA fantasy over 500 pages. And of course, as you can imagine, I don't already have way too many books on my January TBR. I could always use another large book. So I had kind of decided I wanted to try Books and Lala's Buzzwordathon challenge that she is going to be doing for the year of 2021. Actually, she's not doing it. She's kind of made it open to whoever wants to do it. So she set it up so that you'd have to choose books that have a word or a specific type of word in the title. And you could do this Buzzwordathon, this readathon, the first week of the month. Read as many books as you possibly can with that word. I'm not going to spend a whole week reading a whole bunch of books with these words in the title. It's just gonna be overwhelming for me. But I figured I can do one a month. I can commit to that. So if you'd like more information about the Buzzwordathon, I'm gonna link the Goodreads information down below because there is a Goodreads account. And I will also put Kaylee's video from Books and Lala on there because she describes it way better than I will describe it, obviously. So for January, the word is dream. And so I need to pick one book that has the word dream in it, and it just so happens that a book that I really want to read that is over 500 pages and is a young adult fantasy has the word dream in it. So I'm going to be reading Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And I'm really excited about this. I know so many people who love it and have been dying for me to read it, and I can't wait to read it so I can discuss it with them. It's about this young boy named Laszlo Dream. I think his last name's Dream. And he has been dreaming about exploring and specifically going to this place that he sees in his dreams called Weep. It's this town, village, I don't know exactly what it is. But he doesn't ever think he'll actually be able to go because he's not really an explorer, he's not very tough, or I don't know what the deal is. But something comes along and he ends up setting out with, I think, a group of warriors or something like that to this town of Weep. And the leader of this band of warriors he's spending time with is called the Godslayer. So I guess he's trying to figure out who's the Godslayer, why is he called the Godslayer, and what's gonna happen once they get to Weep. Over 500 pages? Okay, I can do this. January is gonna be a busy reading month already, I can tell you. But I'm really excited about this book. Spin number 3. Wonder if I'm gonna be reading all YA books this month. Okay, next one. 1, yes, I will probably be reading all YA books this month. All right. Travel theme, and this normally means middle grade, so I'm just gonna put any YA book. So the book that I'm going to choose for this will be Wanderlove by Kirsten Hubbard. And this is a book about a girl named Bria. She's going to take a guided tour through Central America. And she's super excited for the adventure and freedom and get back into her art, have meaningless sex. And she ends up on a family-oriented guided tour with a whole bunch of people that, it's not exactly the tour she wanted, let's put it that way. She's not gonna get the adventure she was hoping for. She ends up meeting a brother and sister. The brother is like a bad boy, and I don't know too much about the sister, but Bria's intrigued by them and is looking for adventure, so she heads off with them. And she's a good girl, and he's a bad boy, and so I imagine that opposites attract and sparks fly. I can't wait to see what happens here. It sounds like a fun YA contemporary romance, and I think I'll enjoy it. Roll number 4. I'm spitting a whole bunch of low numbers, so it's probably just gonna all be YA. Oh, shoot. What? I'm never gonna get out of college. I'm gonna be a 5-year student. 6, 7, maybe, I would think I was like an 8-year student with like community college and regular college. So, I mean, I guess it works out. Now I need to pick a book with beach vibes. And again, that is middle grade, so I'm just gonna pick any YA book with beach vibes. So, didn't end up moving too far, did I? Okay, this one had to have beach vibes, and you'd be surprised how difficult it was to figure out which of my books had beach vibes. So for this, I chose Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Brashares. I have seen this movie many times, and I have very, very fond memories of it, and I've actually never read the book, so I thought it would be a lot of fun to read the book. I really enjoyed this story. It's about 4 young girls, Lena, Carmen, Bridget, and Tibby. They are all going on summer adventures in different places. They're best friends. They end up with these pants, these jeans that are these magical jeans because they fit every single one of these girls, and they're all different sizes. They're not the same girl. They don't have the same body shape. They don't have the same height. But for some reason, these magical pants fit each of them perfectly. So what they decide to do during this trip is they're going to write to each other and send the pants so each person can have their own adventure wearing these special pants. And during the summer, they do have their own special adventures. One is going through difficulties with her parents because they're dealing with a divorce. One is an artist who is struggling to sort of find her muse. And then there's one that ends up going to visit her grandparents in Greece, and she has a bit of an adventure. She's a little uptight, so we'll see what happens with her. And the last one is a girl who's going to soccer camp, and she is not uptight. And you see some of her experiences while she's off in soccer camp. It'll be nice to see how similar the book is. It's possible I gave you the wrong synopsis because the book is that much different than the movie. All right, so now it's time for the 5th spin, which is the last spin. Thank goodness, because like I said, it's gonna be a busy month. Am I gonna actually make it to the stop sign, or am I gonna be stopped along the way? Cool. I don't want that one. This one's longest book on TBR. I already have a book over 500 pages. So I'm gonna hope for any of these 3. Let's just not roll 2. 6, okay, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have to stop at the career card. And since this is my 5th spin, when I come back in February, I will be starting from the career card, and I will have to roll to see if I can pass this. And if I don't, then I have to pick another book based off career card. So hopefully when I come back in February, I roll past and I can just keep moving. All right, time to pick the career card. I'm gonna shuffle these a little. Let's go with, this one feels good right here. Oh, no. I don't like that one. All right, I have to pick a book that reminds me of something an accountant would do. I mean, maybe money. I think I could pick a book with money. Somebody, maybe rich kids or something like that. I'm gonna interpret this as money of some sort. It's got a little $sign on it. So this is interesting. I wasn't super excited about this when I spun it, but it's actually gonna work out perfectly. I ended up on YA, and I didn't mention it when I was doing the spinning, but I ended up on classics. So I ended up on YA classics. What I ended up choosing is Pride by Ibi Zoboi. I have joined a read-along called Down Memory Jane, and it's all books by Jane Austen or retellings by Jane Austen. And this is being hosted by M Likes Books, Elena the Great, and Lily Eleanor Reads. The January book is Pride and Prejudice, so that's another book that's going onto my TBR that I didn't roll for in this, obviously. So the book for February is actually Pride by Ibi Zoboi. This read-along, I don't think there's any very strict rules as to when and how you should be reading these books. I think it'll be all right if I read it in January. So I'm getting ahead of the game, which I'm actually really happy about because I have some really busy book months coming up in the next few months. So this will be great. Like I said, it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling. It's set in Brooklyn, and there is a girl named Zuri, and she is supposed to be like Elizabeth Bennet, I think. Zuri has a lot of pride, and there you go. There's that pride from Pride and Prejudice. She's very proud of being from Brooklyn, her family, and her Afro-Latino roots. And so her and her sister Janae end up meeting the Darcy family, which I guess move into their neighborhood or something like that, but they're a very wealthy family. And of course they meet the brothers Ainsley and Darius. Janae, the older sister, falls for Ainsley, and we already know that love story if you've read Pride and Prejudice. But Zuri does not like the brother Darius. Darius comes off as a jerk and she just cannot stand him. And of course, at the same time, she's falling for somebody named Warren. If you've ever read the Pride and Prejudice story, this is really a romance about Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. And I'm kind of giving a synopsis of Pride and Prejudice, which I will also be reading this month, by Jane Austen. She's proud and he's prejudiced, and they clash. They totally clash. They cannot get along, but through social situations, they keep getting thrown together. She just starts hating him more and more. So you're having these battle scenes in a lot of sense, social, emotional battle scenes, not physical battle scenes. The Bennet family are struggling somewhat financially because they had all girls and the father doesn't have an heir for his estate. Everything is actually going to get bequeathed to his nephew. It's basically a story of these Bennet women having to find suitors, wealthy enough so that these women will have something to live off of once their father passes. That's the Pride and Prejudice story, and I'm guessing that this book, Pride, is loosely based off that. So I'm really excited to read both of those. I love the BBC miniseries version of Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth and Jennifer Ale. It is one of my absolute favorite movies of all time, and I definitely will be rewatching that this month. I've watched it so many times that I actually know most of the dialogue to the movie, so I'm really hoping that I enjoy the book as well because, like I said, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. All right, so finally I'd like to tell you about the few other books that I will need to read this month that didn't work out on my TBR game. So first, I'm going to be reading The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. My nonfiction group chose that book, and I think it's perfect because it's sort of a nice way to start out 2021 with a little bit of hope, some happiness, and kind of learning how to live in the moment and love ourselves. So I will be reading 2 more books this month, and one is a nice little short book, but the other is just under 500 pages, and they're both Robin Hobb books. So ever since I started watching BookTube, I have been dying to read Robin Hobb. So I asked my friend Shell, who hasn't read any of these yet, if she would like to buddy read these for the year of 2021. So we'll read one or 2 books each month. And she said yes. Thank you, Shell. And I'm so excited. I can't wait. I've heard so many good things. I haven't heard any bad things about this series. So for the month of January, I'm actually gonna read 2 books. The first one is The Willful Princess and the Piebald Prince. And this is a short story, about 195 pages, but it begins the Realm of the Elderling series. It starts before the Farseer trilogy, so I'm starting with that one. So in this story, there is a princess named Princess Caution, which is kind of a strange name, but she's Princess Caution, and she ends up giving birth to a bastard son. And I'm guessing based off what the son looks like, he is the son of the Piebald Prince. He's been unseated, so he's not royalty, but he's pretending to be royalty. And this child that is the bastard ends up getting raised by Princess Caution's companion, Felicity. She's this poor woman who is just the companion to the princess, but she's the one that actually raises this boy. So that one shouldn't be too difficult to start out this big series. And then I'll be starting the Farseer trilogy and reading Assassin's Apprentice. The story is about this young bastard boy named Fitz. Is Fitz the bastard from the Piebald Prince? I wonder. I don't know. He's alone, he has no friends, but he has magic, and he has links to animals. Magic called wit, and it helps to keep him from being lonely and sad and by himself, but it is an old type of magic that nobility hates, and I don't know what exactly that means, but at one point he's brought into a royal household, and he kind of has to learn how to live a different life among different types of people that he's never been around before, and he's being trained how to be a royal assassin. He's getting training on how to learn how to kill people, and reading and writing and all these different things, and he probably has to tamp down his magic is what I'm guessing, because nobility hates the wit so much. I'm very, very, very excited to read this. This is one of my highly anticipated series of 2021, and I can't wait to start it. All right, so that's
9 books. We've got Pride and Prejudice, Willful Prince and Piebald Princess, Assassin's Apprentice, Art of Happiness, Strange the Dreamer, Wanderlove, Sisterhood of Traveling Pants, Pride, and finally 2 Can Keep a Secret. I'm really excited about this TBR game, and I hope you enjoyed this. I can't wait to do it next month and the month after that and see what kind of books I get. This is gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that I can continue trying to get the books that I need to read in my TBR through these spins, but we will see. It just depends on what the board does. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know which ones are your favorites or which ones you didn't like at all and what you think I'll think of them. If you like this video, click the like button and subscribe now so you can see what happens when I read these books and if I get through them all. And also, let me know in the comment section down below if you think that I need to have a penalty, and if I do, what do you think it should be? Because I really haven't chosen a penalty for this game yet, and maybe you guys can help me figure that out. I don't really know what I want to do. I know that it's going to be a busy year, so I don't know how much I want to penalize myself. Maybe I won't, but I guess that kind of is part of the fun, is just making sure that I get that challenge done, making sure that I get all these books read. I don't know, you let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.